Welcome back to another episode of the Permian Podcast, where we explore the latest innovations in conservation-focused technologies and practices and their impact on our projects. Today, we have a special guest joining us. He's a remote sensing and GIS specialist with a clear passion for protecting our planet's forests. Please welcome Dr. Javier Ramos.
Thank you, Mike. It's a pleasure for me to be here on the podcast.
We're really thrilled to have you, Javier. Let's jump right into this. Can you tell us a little bit about the roles technological advancements can play in helping protect our forests?
Sure, absolutely. I would start saying that technology has played a pivotal role in forest protection. More specifically, environmental monitoring has experienced a great revolution over the past decades or two, I would say. The technological advances made over the past years have resulted in a wide range of tools that can now be applied to the environmental, and in this case, to the forest monitoring. So before going into too much detail, perhaps, about this huge wall, I think that it's important to provide a bit of context about remote sensing. So yeah, remote sensing or Earth observation involves collecting data about the Earth's surface from a specific distance. So for this, we typically use satellites, drones, or even aircrafts equipped with various sensors. As I mentioned, the number of these type of sensors and technologies have exponentially grown over the past decades. This led us to quite a different scenarios to where we were 30 years ago. Back in the 70s or 80s, we purely relied on the use of medium resolution optical data coming from the Landsat mission. But nowadays, we have many sensors and tools that can be specifically used and applied to the different areas of forest monitoring. Lastly, I'll say that as part of the technical team of Permian Global, we use on a daily basis various technologies and data that provide us with a wide spectrum of information for monitoring and assessing the current state of the forest.
Fascinating stuff, Javier. Could you explain a little bit more and dive deep into what remote sensing actually entails?
Sure. Yeah. I briefly deep in the previous question, but yeah, of course, remote sensing involve capturing information about the Earth's surface or any object on the Earth that is laying on the Earth's surface, but also their surroundings without physically being there. Focusing on forest ecosystem, these include collecting data on forest health, density, tree canopy heights, and also tracking the dynamics that are happening in the forest over time. This can be done using different sensors and technologies, such as optical, infrared cameras, LiDAR, radar, and yeah, all these sensors collect data that significantly help us to have like a better understanding of the current state and the dynamics of the forest.
Okay, with all this data that you're already collecting in this field of science, why is it important to get even more high resolution data?
Well, this is a very interesting question. So I will say that indeed using high resolution imagery can help us to better assess the state of the forest in most cases. But however, unfortunately, this doesn't solve all our problems, as there are other aspects that have to be considered when monitoring the forest. So generally speaking, when talking about high resolution, we refer to the spatial resolution of the images. So in other words, the higher the spatial resolution of our image, the finer the pixel size, and therefore the greater the definition of the image. So this is of great value as it can help us to spot issues like deforestation, illegal logging, and habitat degradation early on. So, and therefore allowing us to take action before it's too late. And we know that we can lose a minute when working with forest. However, as I mentioned before, I would like to highlight that high resolution is not the only factor that we need to consider. There are other aspects that also played an important role. And one of these is the temporal resolution. So temporal resolution is, when we talk about temporal resolution, we talk about the time that passes between one acquisition and the next one. So having a high temporal resolution data sets allow us to have like very consistent and frequent information about the ecosystem, and therefore this is going to allow us to act and study the area in near real time yeah, in that case.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Now, when using satellite monitoring, what are the primary purposes there?
Well, satellite monitoring is incredibly versatile. It can be used for various purposes, including estimating carbon content in the forest, monitoring the health of the trees, and also, as I mentioned, tracking changes in the land cover. We employ a large number of these data sets and platforms. In most cases, this requires a lot of data fusion techniques in order to generate another data set of this information that can be then used to assess both the present and the past state of the forest, but also to forecast potential issues like disturbances in the future. I will also mention that the use of satellite monitoring is vast, and as we are now seeing in the news almost unfortunately every single day, did help us to monitor and to respond quickly to natural disasters such as wildfires or flooding. So yeah, the use of this technology is quite important.
It's really amazing how technology is so integral to forest conservation. Finally, Javier, what does the future hold for your work, and how will AI, for example, aid your work in the future?
Well, that's the million-pound question. So yeah, personally, I think that the future looks very bright. As I mentioned before, there have been many advances in the past decades that have contributed to enhance the general understanding of the importance of remote sensing, and I think that this is crucial. I think that, or I would say that now people have a better understanding of why it is important to invest in all this technology, as it plays a critical role not only in fighting climate change, but also, as I said before, in other areas such as disaster response and evaluation. So it's important to have this technology. So yeah, regarding artificial intelligence, as you will mention, we are entering a new era where we have or where we're seeing a lot of changes in technology with the arrival of this new set of tools. So obviously this has also had an impact on remote sensing and GIS with a new set of tool platforms and machine learning approaches that there are now significantly helping us to study the natural ecosystems. All these new approaches are and will help us more and more in the future to reduce the efforts when performing analysis over large areas and processing large volumes of data, which is something that we do on the daily basis. However, I strongly believe that the human validation roles that are played by technicians and scientists will always remain as they are. So climate change is a very serious concern that needs solid and robust responses. So this is why I continue to envision actual scientists at the top of the problem solving pyramid. So yeah.
That's exciting to hear your thoughts and details on our conservation roadmap into the future, Javier. Thank you so much for sharing your insights today on the technology behind forest protection. It's been a pleasure having you on the podcast today.
Thank you, Mike. It's been a pleasure for me as well to be here and discuss all the exciting world of GIS and forest conservation. So yeah, thank you.